When you picture the titans of Scottish industry, the whiskey barons, retail giants, and textile pioneers, what names spring to mind? Names that feel like they're etched into the granite of Aberdeen and the sandstone of Glasgow. Names that speak of clan history, old money, and landed gentry. But what if I told you that some of Scotland's most iconic brands weren't built from inherited wealth, but by a small community of families who fled persecution? What if the real, hidden story is about Jewish refugees who, arriving on Scottish shores with little more than their own resilience, saw opportunities that everyone else was missing? This is the remarkable tale of how they blended their ancient heritage with Scottish grit to create legendary businesses, weaving themselves into the very fabric of the nation. Scotland's story with its Jewish community has deep roots. The first recorded Jewish resident, a man named David Brown, was given permission to live and trade in Edinburgh, way back in 1691. But the great waves of immigration really kicked off in the 19th century. First came German-speaking merchants drawn to the commercial buzz of Glasgow and Dundee. Later, between 1881 and 1914, thousands of Yiddish-speaking families arrived from Eastern Europe, running from the pogroms of the Russian Empire. They crowded into the Gorbals district of Glasgow, a tenement slum that became a vibrant, bustling hub of Jewish life, a mirror of the shtetls they'd left behind. And out of these crowded streets, a powerful entrepreneurial spirit rose up. Driven by necessity and a profound cultural emphasis on hard work, these families didn't just survive, they built empires. They got their start in tailoring, furniture making, and tobacco, before scaling up to create some of Scotland's most recognizable names. Today, we're counting down 10 of the biggest and most influential Jewish family businesses that changed Scotland forever. This isn't just a list, it's a chronicle of hope, ingenuity, and a unique cultural fusion. The story of the kosher kilt. Chapter 1. Sir Isaac Wolfson and Great Universal Stores. Our first story isn't just about a business, it's about a global empire built from the humblest of Glasgow beginnings. The life of Sir Isaac Wolfson is the ultimate rags-to-riches tale, a testament to a financial genius that would completely reshape British retail. The Wolfson family's journey began when Solomon Wolfson, a cabinet maker, emigrated from Białystok in modern-day Poland to Glasgow. He settled in the Gorbals, a district teeming with immigrants, and raised his family in relative poverty. His son, Isaac, born in Glasgow in 1897, was a math prodigy, but had to leave school at just 14 to become a traveling salesman for his dad's picture-framing business. This was his real education in commerce, learning the art of the deal on the streets and in the homes of Scotland. In 1920, Wolfson moved to London, selling clocks and mirrors. His big break came when he started supplying goods to a mail-order company called Universal Stores. Founded in 1900, the company was in deep financial trouble by the early 1930s. Wolfson, using his sharp business eye and loans from his father-in-law, started buying up shares. By 1932, he was its joint managing director. What he did next was legendary. The company, now called Great Universal Stores, or GUS, was losing a fortune. Wolfson took total control, streamlined everything, and launched an aggressive acquisition spree. He had an uncanny knack for spotting undervalued companies, especially those with big, higher purchase debts and property he could leverage for more growth. In just over a year, he turned a huge loss into a massive profit. Under his leadership, GUS grew into one of the world's most formidable commercial empires and the largest mail-order business in Europe. At its peak, the group controlled nearly 3,000 stores, including furniture chains, clothing, manufacturers, and a transport company second only to the nationalized British road services. It was once said that a quarter of Britain's entire population were his customers. But Wolfson's legacy goes far beyond profit margins. A devout Orthodox Jew, he became one of the 20th century's greatest philanthropists. In 1955, he, his wife Edith, and their son Leonard started the Wolfson Foundation. Funded with shares from Gus, the foundation has since awarded over $1 billion twice, that's nearly $2 billion in today's money, to more than 14,000 projects across the UK. It has been a monumental force for good, funding everything from medical research and university colleges, including a Wolfson College at both Oxford and Cambridge, to the arts. The son of a poor Gorbals cabinet maker didn't just build a retail empire, he created an engine for social progress that's still changing lives today. Chapter 2. The Goldberg Family and A. Goldberg and Sons, the department store innovators. While Wolfson was building his mail-order empire, another Jewish family in Glasgow was revolutionizing the very experience of shopping. The Goldbergs didn't just create a store, they created a destination, a palace of commerce that became a beloved Scottish institution. Abraham Goldberg, an immigrant from Eastern Europe, landed in Glasgow in 1908. He started modestly, buying bales of cloth in the Gorbals and turning them into goods to sell to wholesalers, all from his small home. By the 1920s, he had moved into a proper space in the Candlerigs area, where the business really began to take off. Joined by his sons, Abraham built A. Goldberg and Sons into a retail powerhouse, floating it on the stock exchange in 1938. But it was after the war that Goldberg's truly cemented its legendary status. The family understood something crucial. They weren't just selling products, they were selling an experience. Their flagship stores were marvels of modernity, especially the purpose-built Edinburgh department store that opened in 1963. It was famously ahead of its time, featuring automatic doors, escalators, and a stunning rooftop restaurant with a garden overlooking the castle. For families, it was a wonderland, complete with an aviary filled with exotic birds and a nursery to entertain kids while their parents shopped. In observance of the Jewish Sabbath, the stores initially stayed closed on Saturdays and opened on Sundays, a practice that only changed after Abraham's death. The Goldbergs were true pioneers. They understood aspiration and retail theater long before they became buzzwords. Their elaborate Christmas window displays were the stuff of legend, drawing huge crowds and becoming a cherished memory for generations of Scots. This flair for innovation continued as they expanded into a chain with outlets across Scotland. By the late 1980s, the company ran around 150 stores. They were also incredibly forward-thinking, launching their own in-house credit card, the Style Card, in 1981, which was so successful it was eventually sold to the Royal Bank of Scotland. They also diversified, launching the youth fashion chain Wriggis. Though the company sadly went into receivership in 1990, a victim of a harsh recession, its impact is undeniable. The Goldberg family created one of the largest and most innovative retailers in Scottish history. They completely transformed the high street, proving that a business that started with a single bale of cloth could grow to capture the heart of a nation. Chapter 3. The Bloch Brothers, the Whiskey Barons. From retail, we pivot to another quintessentially Scottish industry: whiskey. While names like Johnny Walker and William Grant dominate the landscape, the story of Scotch would be incomplete without the profound influence of the Bloch family. Sir Maurice and Joseph Bloch weren't just whiskey traders. They were shrewd businessmen who saw opportunity in crisis and built a formidable name in the world of distilling. The Bloch brothers, Maurice and Joseph, set up their firm in Glasgow as whiskey blenders and brokers. Their genius was all in the timing. During the economic depression of the early 20th century, when many distilleries were going under, the Blochs went on a buying spree. They snapped up Glen Scotia Distillery in Campbelltown and the Scapa Distillery in the remote Orkney Islands. They were acquisitions of heritage and craft. Glen Scotia, in particular, had a long and storied history, and the block's intervention was crucial to its survival. They also bought another Campbelltown distillery, Glengyle, though it wasn't brought back into production under their ownership. Their business smarts were matched by their marketing savvy. The company's signature blend, Ambassador, was a massive hit, especially in the lucrative American market, proving they could compete on a global stage. In 1941, the business was formally incorporated as Block Bros Distillers Limited, an industry powerhouse. Sir Maurice Block's influence went beyond the boardroom. He was a major figure in Glasgow's civic life and a dedicated philanthropist in the Jewish community. In 1954, the family business was sold to the Canadian spirits giant, Hiram Walker. But here's a fascinating twist. A new firm founded by Sir Maurice Block actually bought the Glen Scotia Distillery back from Hiram Walker just 1 year later in 1955, showing the family's deep, enduring connection to the distilleries they had nurtured. The story of the Block brothers is a powerful example of how Jewish entrepreneurs didn't just participate in Scotland's key industries, they actively shaped them. They were outsiders who became insiders, navigating the highly traditional world of Scotch with skill and foresight, and leaving their own mark on one of Scotland's most famous exports. Chapter 4. Jacob Kamush, the tobacco industrialist long before the great retail empires of Wolfson and Goldberg. Another industry dominated Glasgow's economy: tobacco. And right at the heart of the immigrant experience in this trade stood an Austrian Jewish entrepreneur named Jacob Kamush. His story isn't about a famous brand, but about providing the very means of survival for thousands of newly arrived Jewish families. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as Jewish immigrants fled persecution in Eastern Europe, many arrived in Glasgow destitute, speaking only Yiddish. While some turned to tailoring or peddling, a huge number found ready employment in the city's thriving tobacco factories. And the biggest employer for this new community was Jacob Kamush. Kamush's factories became a crucial entry point into the Scottish economy for Jewish workers. This was more than just a job. It was a lifeline. It offered a steady wage, a sense of community, and the first step on the ladder of economic integration. Countless families who would later start their own small businesses. Their life in Scotland was made possible by a paycheck from a Kamush factory. This highlights a vital part of the Jewish business story in Scotland: the powerful internal support network. Leaders like Kamush didn't just build their own fortunes, they created an economic ecosystem that supported their entire community. His factories were a microcosm of the immigrant experience, a place where Yiddish was spoken on the factory floor and where people from the same old villages could find a familiar face. While you won't find the Kamush name on a product today, his impact was immense. He was an industrialist who provided the critical first rung for a generation of immigrants. He represents the foundational layer of Jewish enterprise in Scotland, the industrial base on which later successes were built. The story of Jacob Kamush is a reminder that the biggest businesses aren't always measured by brand recognition, but by the sheer number of lives they help build. Chapter 5. The Heilbron family, the artisan merchants. From the massive scale of tobacco and retail, our next story takes us into a world of fine craftsmanship and specialized trade. The Heilbron family is a perfect example of the skilled artisans and merchants who brought continental expertise to Glasgow, building businesses that became synonymous with quality. David Heilbron arrived in Glasgow from the Netherlands around 1870. He wasn't an industrialist like Kamush. He was a specialist, a wine merchant, a cigar importer, and a maker of cordials and bitters. His business, David Heilbron and Sons, quickly made a name for itself as a purveyor of luxury goods. This shows a different side of Jewish entrepreneurship. While many immigrants started with nothing, families like the Heilbrons brought established commercial skills and international connections with them. David Heilbron became a respected and prominent member of Glasgow's Jewish community, deeply involved in philanthropic work, and a leading member of the Garnet Hill congregation. His family quickly became a cornerstone of the community. The family's influence spread into other ventures, too. David's son, Michael Simons, wasn't just in the family fruit business. He became a major figure in Glasgow's civic life. He served as a city councillor and even co-founded the Howard and Wyndham Theatre Company, showing a deep commitment to the cultural life of his adopted city. The business also branched out, becoming known as whiskey merchants with their own brands like Heilbron and King's Liqueur Scotch whiskies. The Heilbron story is important because it counters the single narrative of penniless refugees. They represent the educated, commercially savvy immigrants who brought capital, skills, and a cosmopolitan flair to Scotland. They built their success not on factory floors, but in elegant city centre offices, adding a touch of continental sophistication to Glasgow's economy. Chapter 6. The Slater Family. Slater Menswear. From the historical foundations of Scottish retail, let's jump to a modern icon, a name you'll see on high streets all over Scotland and beyond: Slater Menswear. This story doesn't start in the 19th century, but in the thick of the 1970s, and it proves that the entrepreneurial fire that defined the first Jewish immigrants is still burning bright. The founder, Philip Slater, is the son of a Jewish refugee who fled Nazi Germany and the grandson of a master tailor. His family history is steeped in the textile and tailoring trades that provided a living for so many. Slater's father wanted him to become an accountant, but the pull of the family trade was just too strong. In 1973, Philip Slater took over the family's clothing business and decided to completely reinvent it. He changed the name to Slater Menswear and rolled out a revolutionary business model based on a simple but brilliant idea: offer a massive selection of suits at great prices with exceptional in-house tailoring and customer service. He started with just one store in Glasgow. The concept was a runaway success. Slater's wasn't just a shop, it became a destination. The company became famous for its vast inventory, claiming to be the world's largest menswear store, and for its promise of free alterations on any suit purchased. That service was a direct nod to the family's tailoring roots and created incredible customer loyalty. What Philip Slater did was take the traditional Jewish trade of tailoring and scale it up for a modern mass-market audience. He combined old-world craftsmanship with savvy, large-scale retail strategy. The business exploded from its Glasgow base, opening stores across Scotland and then England, becoming a true national player. The Slater Menswear story is the perfect bridge between the old world and the new. It carries the DNA of the Jewish tailoring trade from the Gorbals, but applies those principles in a bold, modern, and hugely successful way. It shows that the core values of specialist knowledge and family enterprise brought to Scotland by early Jewish immigrants are still a potent formula for success today. Chapter 7. The Cabinet Makers of the Gorbals. Not every great business story has a famous name attached to it. Sometimes the biggest impact is made by a whole community of artisans whose skill defines an industry for a generation. This is the story of the Jewish cabinet makers of the Gorbals, the unsung craftsmen who furnished the homes of Scotland. When Jewish immigrants arrived in Glasgow from Eastern Europe, many brought with them highly developed woodworking skills. In the shtetls of Lithuania and Poland, cabinet making was a respected Jewish trade. In Glasgow, they found a city in the middle of a housing boom, with a huge appetite for furniture to fill its new tenements. The Gorbals became the epicenter of this trade. In small, cramped, workshops, these artisans practiced their craft. They became known for their quality workmanship and attention to detail. This was the trade that Solomon Wolfson, Sir Isaac's father, practiced after arriving from Białystok. And he was just one of many. These were true family businesses, where skills were passed down from father to son. The term Jewish cabinet maker eventually became a byword for quality in Glasgow. They formed a vital part of the Gorbals economy, employing other immigrants and creating a network of suppliers and dealers. They were a key part of the ecosystem that allowed the community to thrive. While few of these small workshops grew into huge corporations, their collective impact was enormous. They established furniture making as a key Jewish occupation in Scotland. More importantly, they provided the training ground for the next generation. Isaac Wolfson himself got his start selling for his father's picture-framing business, a direct offshoot of this woodworking world. The cabinet makers of the Gorbals may not have become household names, but their legacy is built into the very structure of Scottish Jewish success. They were the hard-working backbone of the community's economic rise. Chapter 8. The German Jewish Textile Merchants. Before the great wave of Eastern European immigration populated the Gorbals, an earlier, smaller, but incredibly influential group of Jewish entrepreneurs arrived in Scotland. These were the German-speaking merchants who came in the mid-19th century, drawn by the booming textile industries of Glasgow and Dundee. They weren't fleeing pogroms, they were chasing economic opportunity, and they became foundational figures in Scotland's commercial life. These merchants brought with them a sophisticated understanding of international trade and finance. They set themselves up as agents and importers, forming the crucial link between Scotland's mills and the global market. They dealt in everything from fine wools to jute, the fabric that made Dundee the jute capital of the world. Their arrival marked a significant step in the formation of organized Jewish communities in Scotland. In Dundee, for example, it was these German Jewish merchants who formally established a community in 1874. They were often educated, middle-class families who integrated smoothly into the commercial life of their adopted cities, helping to found the first synagogues and charitable institutions. In many ways, these merchants were pioneers of globalization. They used their family and business connections across Europe to open up new markets for Scottish textiles, contributing hugely to the prosperity of cities like Glasgow and Dundee. They were the quiet architects of trade, the connectors who helped plug Scotland's industrial engine into the world economy, setting the stage for the larger-scale immigration and more visible business successes that would follow. Chapter 9. The Cohen family and Mark's Deli, the modern cultural hub. Our journey now brings us to the present day, to a small shop in a Glasgow suburb that represents something far bigger than its square footage. Mark's Deli is not a multinational corporation, but it's arguably one of the most important Jewish businesses in Scotland today, a cultural lifeline and a vibrant community hub. Owned by Mark Cohen, this deli is the modern incarnation of a business legacy stretching back 4 generations. Mark's family has been providing kosher food to the Glasgow community for over a century. His mother, Doreen, was a renowned kosher caterer. His great-aunt Annie owned a deli in the Gorbals, and his great-great-aunt was the legendary Sophie Janine, who ran a famous kosher restaurant in the heart of the old neighborhood. As Mark says, "Good food is in the genes." In a country where the Jewish population has fallen from a peak of around 20,000 to about 6,000 today, a place like Mark's Deli is more than just a shop. It's an anchor. It is Scotland's only kosher deli, and it serves the entire country, delivering food from Dundee to John O'Groats. The deli is a sensory link to the past, offering hot salt beef sandwiches, chicken soup, and gefilte fish made from Doreen's famous recipe. During Passover, the deli becomes the frenetic heart of the community. They even produce a world-famous kosher haggis, a perfect symbol of the Scottish-Jewish fusion that's even been mentioned in the Scottish Parliament. The business has evolved too, providing all the kosher food for the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. Today, a big business can be measured by its cultural weight. In that respect, Mark's Deli is a giant. It's a testament to the power of a family business to sustain not just itself, but the identity of an entire community. Chapter 10. Adam Henderson and Kosher Scotland Tours, the Heritage Entrepreneur. Our final story looks to the future of Jewish enterprise in Scotland, and it's a story about turning history itself into a business. Adam Henderson, a native Glaswegian Jew, created Kosher Scotland, a luxury travel company offering a unique service, high-end tours of Scotland for kosher-observant tourists from around the world. It's a brilliant, modern twist on entrepreneurship. Henderson saw a gap in the market. Jewish travelers who wanted to experience Scotland's landscapes and history, but were held back by the lack of quality kosher food. His company solves that problem, providing 5-star service, gourmet kosher food, and expertly guided tours that blend mainstream Scottish tourism with a deep dive into the country's unique Jewish heritage. A tour might include a visit to a famous whiskey distillery, a trip through the Highlands, and also a stop at the beautiful Garnet Hill Synagogue in Glasgow, which now houses the Scottish Jewish Archives Centre. Henderson acts as a bridge, sharing the stories of the families we've talked about today with a new global audience. This business model is symbolic of the community's evolution. The entrepreneurial spirit has shifted from making things to creating experiences. Henderson isn't selling a physical product. He's selling a story. He is selling the story of his own heritage, intertwined with the broader narrative of Scotland. It's a sign that while the community may have changed, the spirit of enterprise that has defined it for centuries is as vibrant and inventive as ever. From the crowded tenements of the Gorbals to the boardrooms of global corporations, the story of Jewish family businesses in Scotland is one of staggering resilience and ambition. It began with peddlers and artisans who saw in Scotland not just a refuge, but an opportunity. They were tailors, cabinet makers, and factory workers who, through sheer grit, laid the economic foundations for their community. From these beginnings rose titans like Sir Isaac Wolfson, who built a global retail empire, and the Goldberg family, who turned the Scottish High Street into a theater of commerce. They were joined by the Bloch brothers, who carved out a space in the world of whiskey, and countless others. Their success was built on a unique fusion, the Jewish cultural emphasis on hard work and community, combined with a Scottish tradition of enterprise and global trade. This integration, achieved without assimilation, allowed them to enrich Scotland in ways that are still felt today. And that legacy continues. It lives on in the modern success of Slater menswear, a national brand built on the old trade of tailoring. It thrives in the warm welcome of Mark's Deli, a 4th-generation business that serves as the cultural heart of today's community. And it looks to the future with ventures like Kosher Scotland, which transforms this rich history into a vibrant experience for a new generation. The Jewish population in Scotland may be smaller now, but its impact is immense. The story of these businesses is more than just a history of commerce. It's a hidden history of modern Scotland itself, a story of how a small group of determined families helped build some of the nation's most iconic brands. Their legacy is a powerful reminder that a nation's strength often comes from the very people it welcomes in from the cold. Which of these stories of resilience and enterprise surprised you the most? Are there other hidden business histories in Scotland you think we should explore? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed uncovering this piece of hidden history, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the untold stories that have shaped our world. Thanks for watching.